So the workshops that we've done today were developed for a project that ran a couple of years ago. It was focusing on Polish heritage, Polish-Scottish heritage, shared heritage. So Wojtek is one of those symbols of shared heritage where there is an element of Polishness and there's an element of Scottishness, and there's also lots of other international elements, so it is a really fascinating story. So the workshops have been offered to schools when our project was alive 3 years ago now, and ever since it was actually a closed history of the workshops, but we're being asked on a regular basis to deliver workshops by different organizations. So there isn't a schedule, but it tends to be twice a year in different locations where we organize those workshops. So this story is a fascinating story that captures imagination of adults and children alike. So we try to make it also very tangible. So as we all know, children learn by doing things, and the best method for them to get fascinated with something is when you make it tangible, when they can play and learn. So learn without knowing. So I'm not quite sure how many facts they take away from this, but what I would like to think that they take away this sort of interest of, oh, there was this amazing bear, and they had puzzles where they discovered their stories. So they would spend time themselves putting together puzzles and finding out the sort of different stages of life of Wojtek. They have stuff like they sort of imprint their the paw of the bear, and we have a sort of real size bear a paw imprint, if you like, to give them an idea that it wasn't a pet, it wasn't a dog, it was an enormous animal that was higher than them, than anyone. So, like, this is the real size cutout of a bear, where you can see that a friendship between, human being and this bear, it was something very special. And so we try to do several activities that kids can do in a different sequence, and they can start wherever they wish. These are activities as well that involve parents, so we depend heavily on parents sort of working with children. So, and it doesn't have to be really about the bear. Sometimes they wander off and do different other things, but it did prove very effective in terms of engaging smaller kids and bigger ones and adults, and we take the opportunity to talk to those parents and then to tell stories to the kids. Very often parents would not be perhaps confident enough to ask, so what is the story actually? But once you start conversing with a child, the adult picks up the conversation and you start, telling the story to the adult. So it's a very nice way of sort of hands-on engaging everyone in an activity that's relaxing and everyone can have a chat about. People start talking to each other, kids start playing, then they throw themselves on this big plush bear, the cuddly toy. The bear's been cuddled by so many kids now. It's got a broken neck, but it still serves its purpose. There's always an odd child who likes to carry it around. So I think this is the appeal. And to give it a surrounding that is a bit more of a learning environment, we have these posters where we present people with different facts about the shared heritage. So we've got the visuals, these enormous posters. We've got the audio about them, so people can hear stories of others. We've got series of short movies which depict different histories, and we focus here on one of those histories, Wojtek the bear. So this is, in rather long description, a short story of the workshops.
I quite heard about that Wojtek was fighting with the other countries and stuff, but this is what I first thought. I thought that he was carrying the very, very heavy thing. I forgot what it was called, but it was very, very heavy that the soldiers couldn't pick it up.